Hi guys! Today we'll be recapping a story called I Don't Want to Be the Magpie Bridge. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot. Enjoy! The story begins with a chase game between a lady in a coat who wants her sword back, claiming she ordered it months ago, and a little kid who has no intention of giving it to her because the store owner sold it to him. The panting lady corners the kid, but she is taken aback when the boy skillfully executes a backflip to evade her grip and proceeds to run. However, the mysterious lady has something up her sleeve. She grabs a pink ball from her bag, which she claims is inspired by her favorite comic book, and despite never having tested her product on humans, throws it at him. And as soon as it strikes him, he shrinks and gets encased inside the ball. It's literally a Pokeball! She playfully looks at him and starts to imply that she will release him if he gives up the sword, leading the angry boy to agree. She rejoices to finally get her hands on the dwarven sword they've been fighting over. She then turns to the child and is prepared to pay him, but it appears that money isn't something this kid is concerned about. Instead, he threatens her not to appear again, or else he will make sure she suffers. After the child departs, she realizes that he gave the sword away for free, which implies she has messed with a rich noble. Despite this, she smiles and seems confident that no one will catch her because the lovely ginger-haired lady she appears to be is actually a disguise. She removes her magical robe and turns back into 13-year-old Shiana West. She was really stunning as a grown-up, but right now she's a lively, fearless little darling. She then takes out her Magpie Bridge Escape checklist book and ticks off one of her achievements, obtaining the sword. When they get to Ogren Academy, Shu's 15-year-old brother Harun is scolding her for nearly missing her entrance ceremony. But Shu's best friend Hestia Flood, a beautiful girl with pink hair and soft features, doesn't care. She just thinks Shu is adorable, which her big bro agrees. Okay, I like seeing a loving bestie and a simp big bro. After ensuring that the two ladies are guided by the school guide, Harun waves goodbye and expresses his delight that they've enrolled in his school. Hestia then discovers that Shu chose the swordsmanship department, which concerns her because it's so unladylike. But our girl doesn't care what others say and is determined to do whatever she wants. Yup, as we all should. Now that they've gathered at the entrance ceremony, our brilliant Shu should be sitting proudly in the front row as an honor student, but she appears to be trying to avoid the spotlight. Then they announce the first year's representative, Hylli or Yves, which she recognizes as the crown prince's name, so she looks at the stage and trembles to realize that it is the young lad she followed, put in a Pokeball, and confiscated his sword, so she's likely screwed. Whoopsie! After the ceremony, Hestia receives all of the boys' attention, but she is uninterested and is only concerned that Shu is not looking good. For obvious reasons, she and the crown prince both attend the same school, and now she learns that they are both majoring in swordsmanship. On top of that, the very mention of his name disturbs her, but she chooses to ignore it and retreat to her room. Hess gets cranky by her enthusiasm, which contrasts with her dislike of the fact that their rooms are so far apart, and she pouts, prompting Shu to pat her head and promise to pay her frequent visits. Hess also claims that she's only concerned that Shu will forget her if the swordsmanship boys take all of her attention, unaware that she is the one who has won the hearts of all the boys, causing Shu to sigh and believe her best friend is such a baby. Adorable besties. Shu cautiously makes her way to her dorm room where she discovers that third-year student Hazel Minamizu will be her roommate. Shu believes it's bad luck the moment she walks in when she sees her brat-looking girl doormate, who is so upfront about how she doesn't like having a roommate. But she was very mistaken about this senior. In fact, she is a ball of sunshine. Yay! She's pretty too! Hazel is shocked to find that Shu majors in swordsmanship and aspires to be a knight. She remarks that it will be difficult for her to marry if she becomes a knight, prompting Shu to express her belief that marriage will never guarantee her future, so she prefers to have a solid salary with guaranteed severance pay for retirement. Hazel is ecstatic and proud of her independence and coolness, and Shu grins because she knows how people will react when she tells them she wants to be a knight. Some will think it's strange, like Hestia, and others will think it's amazing, like Hazel. She understands them because it's still uncommon for women to pursue careers in this world, and she may have been one of them if she hadn't had that dream. She began having bizarre dreams at the age of 5, and in them, she sees her past life as Han Yi-an. This is when she realizes she was living in a novel world she had read previously and knew she was destined to suffer. Her family will become bankrupt and she'll be sold as a bride, with Hestia contributing to her misery. No, I like their friendship. Sometimes Yi-an will hold and read the novel, so Shu takes the chance to read it as well, as she does today. So she scans and attempts to find useful information, such as the fact that someone will compel Hestia, and that person is Hylli. She screams as she wakes up that morning, realizing why she hates the Crown Prince's guts. He's one of the main leads. Shu is reincarnated in the novel The Guys Around Hestia, and as you may all have guessed, it is a romance story centered around the grown-up Hestia. Oh my, Hestia looks stunning on the novel cover! Juliana's role is to be her best friend, and despite being a supporting character, she will attract a lot of male attention, which is great, but it's not what you think. These men are merely using her to get closer to Hestia. In short, she is used as a magpie bridge, connecting the female lead to her suitors. Although Shu knows that none of this is Hestia's fault, she is adamant that she will never let herself become that bridge. Hestia pouts because lunch is over, which means her time with her best friend is done as well. Shu goes first to change into her swordsmanship uniform, and while she does so, she realizes that she will not be able to hide from Hylli, and they will undoubtedly meet during class. She regrets that she just changed into her adult appearance and did not entirely conceal herself when she first saw Hylli, which makes her nervous because, despite the disguise, the prince may be sharp enough to recognize her right away. So do you know what this girl does? She shows up to the practice field clad in a towel, which is really drawing more attention to her. With a mischievous grin on her face, she thinks her disguise is going to work. However, her plans are thwarted when the teacher calls for everyone to line up for a one-on-one battle to test their skills. Among the male leads in the novel, the one she least wants to cross paths with is the raving, obsessed Prince Hylli. Not gonna lie, the prince looks incredibly attractive in this mature image of himself. He will approach Juliana, and the innocent girl, unaware of his manipulation, will fall in love with him. And when things don't go his way with Hestia, this insane guy will torment Shu. That is yet in the future, but it is better to be safe than sorry. So our wee potato approaches her teacher and informs him that she is not competent enough to spar. She begs her teacher to let her train alone, but her teacher is determined that her passion for swordsmanship should not be suppressed, just because she's a girl. Although it's great to have a teacher who has her back, his current level of support isn't helping her, particularly because he calls out for Hylli to help her. Uno reverse on her, but we all love a supportive teacher. Ever since Shu started dreaming of her past life, a career in public service has always been Shu's goal. Since royal knights receive the highest pension, she began preparing for this goal at an early age by devoting herself to her education and working out every day. But all of her efforts appear to be going down the drain right now because of her innocent, supportive teacher, who may be the cause she ends up in jail for ridiculing the crown prince. Hylli will have to guide Shu until she's ready to spar, and in exchange, the teacher promises not to tell the emperor that he was slacking off last time, so this young prince accepts. They find a quieter spot to go to, and the second they get there, Hylli urges Shu to take off her towel, but she just shakes her head in protest. This is driving the prince crazy, as he has no idea why a girl behaving so strangely wants to major in swordsmanship, until he realizes something. After staring at the quivering Shu for a while, he finally figures out that she must have joined the department because she has feelings for him. He then strikes a pose, gushing about his good looks, which actually helps Shu relax. I never knew the crown prince had such a cutie side. However, Hylli values their department and does not want her to be part of it since he believes she has dirty motives. So he takes away her sword and walks away, causing Shu to finally snap and detest Hylli for assuming things as if he knew her well. She clearly declares that she is not one of those girls who are crazy about him. Instead, she is someone who loves money. Her eyes sparkle as she explains that being a knight will provide her with riches and prestige, and she takes back her sword, leaving Hylli distraught by her immoral goals. She flashes him a cheeky grin, which catches Hylli off guard because he knows that expression from somewhere. So to confirm his suspicions, he takes her towel off against her will. Indeed, he does remember her as the woman who made fun of him. Shu pretends as if she knows nothing, but the furious prince is confident it's her, since he can never forget her eyes and cunning voice. As she steps back in response to Hylli's command to stop, she utters aloud her unconscious thought that the prince is overreacting. Her remark causes the prince to lose his cool and chase her down, leaving her with no option but to use her quick step magic for a boost, while explaining to her teacher that she needs to use the restroom. She can use magic in that way? Impressive! She returns to her room when she hears her transmitter ring, expecting it to be a call from home. But it is from a man named Carl, who addresses her as Miss Schneeballin. He's not supposed to call her, but he has no other choice because their client needs the camcorder repair rushed, which irritates her right now. However, her tone softens and she assures that it will be sent immediately after Carl mentions that the client is willing to pay more. Her love for money is really something. Although becoming a knight will grant her more freedom, our girl realizes that it won't be enough to support her family. So she takes on a second identity as Schneeballin, a beautiful grown-up lady with reddish hair and a mysterious engineer who fixes underworld magic devices. She wasn't born a genius, but her mastery of programming from a previous life, which matches how magic works, has served her well in her current life, making her an accomplished engineer. Her lovely roommate then appears and promptly asks how her first day was and if she had fun. Hazel mentions that she overheard several swordsmanship students calling one of their female classmates poopy pants, which makes our girl quite humiliated. Rumor has it that the girl skipped class due to constipation, and Hazel believes the girl in question is not Shu, which Shu confirms with a stutter. She is now crying inside because she believes that the Crown Prince is behind it to get revenge on her. I'm sure she will get into more trouble. Poor girlie. While Hestia's friends are chatting with her after lunch, she unexpectedly disappears and tags along with Shiana, much to their surprise. Hestia's short-haired friend finds it strange why someone like Hest keeps hanging around Shu's side when the girl is pretty weird. But the other friend believes Shu must be a good friend because when the boys who have a crush on Hestia ask about her type, she happily says she likes someone like Shu. The novel's female lead needs no man. Perhaps you're curious about where to find these cute best friends. They're actually hiding behind a bush, and cute Hestia is grumbling about how her legs are hurting. Hearing Hylli's screams and his search for her, Shu shuts Hestia's mouth in an instant, prompting her best friend to give her a frown, wondering what she did to the Crown Prince. Hest looks as if this is nothing new for her. Hylli then begins hurling rocks in all directions, with one hitting Hestia's head, causing her to scream. Shu has no option but to come out now, but before she can, Hestia decides to help her and comes out of hiding. She puts on a show as though she was frightened of him, and the prince's blushing indicates that her beauty had won him over. That was fast! After he inquires as to whether she was injured, our lovely girl assures him that she's all right, and abruptly goes away, preventing Hylli from even getting a chance to ask her name. He puts on an act of a young man head over heels for Hestia, and Shu can hardly stand how cringeworthy he sounds as he describes his emotions in, fascinating, romantic, dramatic dialogues. This prince cracks me up. He's so innocent and cute. But his mini show comes to a halt the moment Shu's transmitter gives a message that the recording is complete. She actually puts it in her pocket to repair when she can, but she has no idea it was recording until the embarrassed Crown Prince spots her. She runs to her dorm room yet again, convinced that she's about to be expelled from school. Suddenly, it dawns on her. She knows the Crown Prince's weakness and can use it to her advantage. Is he the male lead? One thing is for sure, those two adorable little ones will become frenemies. The following day, they come face to face again in swordsmanship class, and Shu smirks as she pokes fun at Hylli's one-of-a-kind dramatic confession from the day before, making the prince feel ashamed. That face of regret. Shu further humiliates Hylli by playing one of the recordings, which causes him to freak out. He then grabs the transmitter and begins to destroy it with his sword. However, he finally gives up when Shu shows that she has made multiple copies of it. He is now very frustrated that she's taking advantage of his weakness, so Shu stops making fun of him and starts negotiating seriously. Firstly, she mentions that in order to thrive in the real world, one must have connections. Since the First Order of Imperial Knights does not have any female knights, she fears that she may be rejected and instead sent to the Second Order, regardless of her competence. When Hylli starts to think that it could be true, Shu goes all dramatic and demands that the Crown Prince become her connection. Not like a backer, but simply to ensure that he will prohibit any unfair behavior when the time comes. Hylli smirks at how confident she sounds about being assigned to the First Order, prompting Shu to flash him a proud look, declaring that she may not be powerful enough now, but she is confident that she will be by the time they graduate. Hylli likes her confidence, so he accepts, and they shake hands to seal their agreement that in exchange for becoming her connection, she will destroy all recordings. Following this, Hylli sheepishly requests another condition. this time that Shu help him in becoming closer to Hestia, a request that she instantly declines. This cutie crown prince then tries to negotiate and promises to make sure she really gets into the First Order, which our girl happily accepts. Look how the tables have flipped! Meanwhile, a blonde, charming boy with glasses looks through the month's magic magazine and reads an article about Schneeballin, aka our ginger girlie. As he frowns, since they don't publish any photos of her, his gaze is captivated by the sight of pretty bestie Hestia as she wanders down the hall. Then he notices a guy approach her and asks if Hestia has seen his love letter, to which she casually and innocently responds that she did not read it on purpose, because she has rejected him. So savage! She then smiles and declares that her ideal person is someone like Shushu, which intrigues the blondie. Shu is blissfully doodling throughout class because her mind is at ease after dealing with Hylli. In the novel, Hylli is meant to fall in love at first sight with Hestia after they graduate from junior class, but it has already happened and he is not responding aggressively. So Shu speculates that it is because they meet when they are still young. It reminds me of those innocent high school crush feels. Hestia and Shu are about to go for lunch when Hylli interrupts them, stating that he has to speak with Shu for a moment. This prompts Hestia to wonder if she isn't included in their conversation, causing this boy to flush and claim she isn't, missing his golden opportunity with her. Hylli is still charmed with Hestia's beauty as she walks away, and Shu, who has been watching him, thinks his crazy side hasn't fully surfaced just yet. He looks so cute though. Shu then wakes him up from swooning over Hestia and asks what he wants to talk about. Hylli appears to be upset that she used magic to boost herself while debuffing him from their sparring yesterday. But he acknowledges that he has never seen magic as irregular as hers, which is why he was unable to counter her properly. His disheartened expression reminds Shu of her brother from her past life. So she cheers him up and compliments him on how, despite being already competent, he knows how to reflect on his mistakes. This does the trick, and he's back to being proud of himself in no time. Shu then suggests that Hylli help her gain strength and stamina while she helps him fight unethical tactics, which he gladly accepts. The next day, Hylli proudly presents her with a list of physical training, including 1,000 push-ups, 5,000 sit-ups, and other superhuman exercises, which she believes are intended to punish her. However, Hylli returns that question to her because it looks at the list of training she gave him of enduring 200 magical enhanced punches, 200 beatings, and so on is all to bully him, which makes our girl smile and scratch her head. Shu enters her dorm room looking exhausted, as if she just came back from battle, which makes Hazel concerned about her. But Shu manages to claim she's alright before collapsing on the floor. The prince really shows no mercy. Thank goodness she was able to take a shower, cause good hygiene is a must. Despite her feelings of being an annoyance to Hazel, her senior persists in helping her dry her hair and instructing her to sit quietly, which Shu has no choice but to comply with. While applying ointment to her injured hands, Hazel complains about her overdoing the sparring exercise and changes her mind about the crown prince, claiming that he is too hard on her little Shushu. Shu simply listens to Hazel's concerns and is convinced that she is a good person because she treats her well, despite the fact that they have only recently met. That night, Shu gives the sleeping Hazel a really sweet smile, and she secretly thanks her for all the help she gives, while claiming that having Hazel as her roommate is the best thing that has happened to her since she started attending the academy. Aw, Sister Hazel is the best! Just as Shu is about to drift off to sleep, she is startled to see Hestia sneaking into her room. She appears frightened as she climbs into Shu's bed and tells her about her nightmare, in which Shu was laughing and surrounded by many, yet she ignored Hestia's calls for her. Hestia begins to cry, fearing that without Shu, she would be alone, which leads Shushu to feel guilty for being so preoccupied with her sparring practice that she hasn't paid much attention to her bestie, who is actually struggling to adjust to her new environment and dorm life. Hestia snuggles closer to Shu, wishing they would never grow up so she may continue to act like a carefree child around her. Hestia is aware that she's acting immaturely right now, yet she begs Shu to understand her, while Shu looks at her worriedly. Eventually, the two of them fall asleep while they hold hands. Never forget your besties, everyone. The next day, Shu proudly shows off her biceps and triceps to Hestia, unconcerned that the others are laughing at her as long as she can make her bestie laugh so hard. After that, Hestia sends Shu off, concerned that she'll be late for practice. But before she departs, she gives her the grape-flavored ice cream she's been craving to cheer her up. As they say their farewells, Hestia worries about what will happen if Shu really leaves her behind. You just have to run with her and grow alongside your bestie. Looking in the mirror, Shu recognizes her toned body, and though she dislikes the Crown Prince training course, she continues to see positive outcomes and believes she is really learning something from him. She's waiting on a bench for the Crown Prince when the traffic lights trio appear, talking to each other and assuming they're the only ones around, so the yellow-haired guy says he wants to try something he learned in magic class. A gas that can amplify fire magic is inside your body, and he means their fart. They giggle like middle schoolers and laugh loudly as they accomplish it, while Shu watches them with disgust. The Crown Prince then sits next to her, recording the trio's activities, and questions if she felt this disgusted when she saw him doing a romantic, cringy scene, which she confirms. But he is relieved that she destroyed the recording as promised. But her silence raises doubt in him, and he realizes that Shu hasn't deleted it yet because their contract hasn't been completed. They are fun together! That night, Hylli checks his battered body in the mirror and believes Shu is really taking pleasure in giving him a good beating. Thinking about how much he was bullied by our girl annoys him, but he can't deny that she is good at magic, making him sigh and wish she had majored in magic so he wouldn't be feeling so harassed now. He then plops on his bed and recalls that Shu gives casual compliments, making her a good training partner, and there are even times when she treats him like a little brother. For some reason, he doesn't mind it and even smiles at the very thought. I see, their dynamic seems to be more sibling-like than anything else. But his thoughts are interrupted by his roommate Corey, who is curious about what makes him smile. Then Corey asks the Crown Prince if he knows anything about a youngster named Shushu. Though he doubts it's Juliana's nickname, Hylli chooses to tell Corey that he doesn't know. The next day, Shushu is persuading Hestia to join her Magic Circle Control Club, but she hesitates because she honestly cannot do magic. Hestia apologizes and departs, while Shu is contemplating her potential recruits, when Corey appears and asks if there's a student named Shushu in her class. Shu is examining Corey's appearance, and she finds his gaze strong and somewhat frightening, but handsome. She becomes suspicious of him and asks for his identification and the reason he's looking for Shushu, but he simply claims that he's curious about his appearance. Before leaving, he asks her to deliver a message to Shushu stating that Corey Dubois has been looking for him. Oh, he thinks our Shu is a boy! His name makes her gasp, and she identifies him as one of the male leads. He is the heir to the powerful Dubois Marquess family, and one of the main characters who loves Hestia. In the novel, even though he seems uninterested in her because he's so absorbed in learning magic, he really cares about Hestia the most. Abruptly, she calls him and confesses that she is actually Shushu, leading Corey to scratch his head because he thought she'd be a boy due to the nickname. After she introduces herself as Juliana West, she asks what he needs from her, but it appears that he was merely curious who she is since Hestia had mentioned that Shushu is her type. Shushu pauses for a while, remembering how Hestia was so attached to her when they were younger, but she can't believe she's going around talking about it at school. She then comes to the realization that Hestia and Corey have already met early, just like with the Crown Prince. She is still thinking about the novel when Corey interrupts her to tell her that he's leaving. She thinks that the novel might happen before they graduate, but she turns her focus to her recruitment paper as she needs at least one person to start the club, but everyone she knows is already in good clubs. Then she realizes that Corey Dubois could be someone, so she hurriedly exits the room to go after him, recalling that he is an outstanding magician in the novel. Since the club is dedicated to magic, she is sure that he will gladly join when she convinces him to do so. She grins and calls him over, acting all friendly as she shows him the recruitment paper and strongly asks if he wants to join her newly formed Magic Circle Control Club. She adds that this club will study magic circle manipulation using magical theories and formulas. Though intriguing, Corey wants to join a large group because a small club requires more work. He constantly says the same thing when she begs, when suddenly a teacher goes by and orders Corey to stop bullying her, even though he's not. Shu asks him if he's constantly misunderstood due to his tough appearance and asks him to smile for her, but he warns her she'll regret it. Shu flinches at his evil smile, and now she understands why people misinterpret him. She gasps for air from the dread she felt and frankly asks him if he doesn't have any friends, which brings a pitiful expression to his face. I feel like he's a softie. Once Shu figures out that Corey is that awkward guy, she manages to get him to join her club. They are then given a cozy club room, and her only problem is that their club will be dissolved if they do not do well, so they must come up with some sort of project. But it appears that Corey will be of no help because all he comes with is a box full of snacks and his blanket. After that, he hits the couch for a quick nap, which is fine with Shu. But then he gets a startled realization. With club activities every 2 days, he'll have more time to relax. This makes him happy, but our girl gets the chills just looking at his smiling face. He then gets to his feet and tells Shu she should stop being so polite and start calling him by his name, like any good friend would. However, given their social class differences, Shu simply lacks the courage to do it, forcing Cory to put a biscuit in her mouth and shoot more treats every time she refuses. His expression is pure evil, as he swears that he's fine with doing snack attacks all day long until she calls him Cory. How do you win a friend? Feed them sweets. He really wants a friend, cutie. Following that, the two have a great time together conducting magic experiments. Their magic lessons have begun, and Shu, who is clearly uninterested in the subject, can't help but notice how lovely Hestia's voice is. She then sees Hylli and Cory with their class outside the room, waiting for them to finish, which makes her even more frustrated. And all she wants is for their teachers to finish their lesson. But things take a shocking turn when Shu's teacher notices that she's only fake singing and demands that she sing the whole verse, or else she'll not dismiss the class. With no other option, our girl clears her throat and begins singing with confidence, and everyone around her is blown away by her performance. They are all suppressing their laughs. As a proud girlie who doesn't care about what others think, she starts singing her heart out, and everyone, including Cory and Hylli, can't help but lose it, laughing and crying at how terrible she is. On the inside, poor Shushu is crying, but hey, at least she has Hestia, who compliments her voice. I love how the setting looks like your normal high school. She became a campus celebrity the moment she let out her golden voice. Now, whether she's in class, at recess, or even in training with Hylli, no one can help but make fun of her, and she can only hope time passes quickly. She then enters her club room, confused as to why Cory is curled up under his pink strawberry blanket. She notices an already prepared snack on the table and reads the note Cory wrote for her, which she finds sweet until she realizes that all of the snacks are excellent for her throat. She furiously takes his blanket, and there's our sweet boy trying his hardest not to burst into laughter. Sorry, Shushu, but you will go down in the school history books. Cory has been looking for Shu for days, just so he could give her treats. Today, Hestia notices that Cory hasn't appeared yet, which surprises Shu because Hestia used to be afraid of him. But it appears that she isn't nowadays because he seems friendly around Shu and even gives her sweets. Right? He is such a sweet boy. Speaking of Cory, he shows up, which makes Hestia stand up, and he then gladly offers her a snack, all the while Shu watches the chemistry between them. Shu and Cory are now back in their club room, and after learning that they would be making magical tools to present to the school, Cory becomes excited and eager to help Shu with everything. He is so impressed by Shu's talent to modify magic circle formulas, and while he gushes about it, Shu can't help but change her opinion of him. Cory is a kind guy who is brilliant at magic but humble enough to learn, leading her to conclude that he is a far better fit for Hestia than Hylli. So she straight up asks him whether he likes Hestia, prompting Cory to reveal that the reason he can't keep his gaze away from her at first is that her appearance matches his taste. And by taste, he means that Hestia resembles a cute candy. His answer is so vague that Shu makes a troubled face, which Cory catches and causes him to casually clarify that he does not go looking for her to visit Hestia while smiling and drinking his tea. My guy got some riz! His explanation surprises Shu, so to avoid being awkward, she jokingly responds that she knows he looks for her since he has no friends, making Cory angrily blush, which no longer makes her shudder in fear. Instead, she finds Cory cute. They are so cute. I'm betting on these two. Shu is experiencing another dream in which she sees her past life as a loving sister to her two younger siblings and bickers with her other little brother, Han Se-yu. It was just a usual happy day until she received a call in the middle of the night informing her that their parents had been involved in an accident, causing her to wake up crying. That morning, Hestia looks concerned at Shushu because she barely ate her lunch, to which Shushu just responds that it was due to a lack of sleep. Her dreams lately have been very clear. It's lovely when she has dreams when she's just watching her past self read the novel. But she dislikes it when she has dreams about her awful memories because they feel so real that it makes her heart ache anew. During club time, Cory shows Shu what he has learned from the theories she taught him on how to modify formulas on the magic circle, impressing our girl. He combined the magic circles and it worked, prompting Shu to commend him on his quick learning ability. He returns the compliment and expresses his gratitude for her lessons, which makes him question why she chose swordsmanship since she is so good at magic. And you already know the answer. Imperial Knights earn more than Imperial Magicians. His questioning does not end there. He wants to know why she goes to such lengths for money since her family isn't exactly poor, which baffles Shu because no one has ever questioned her this deeply before. That's when you can tell he really cares. If she's honest, it's because she doesn't want her past life to repeat itself. She used to live a life of comfort, but after her parents passed away in a car accident, only misfortune followed her. Aside from inheriting the family's riches, she also took on her father's business debt, forcing her and her 3 siblings to live in a room in the basement. Oh, that explains why she sounds so desperate for money. She understands how difficult it is to struggle for money, so even if she's unaware that her parents will soon become bankrupt, she will still do whatever she can to safeguard her future because misfortunes happen unexpectedly. After remembering her siblings and realizing how much she misses them, Shu begins to sob, which Cory notices and apologizes for his careless questioning. He is so worried that he decides to use magic to compel her to sleep, wrapping her in his strawberry blanket and placing her in his sleeping spot. Surprisingly, Shu lets her guard down when Cory gently pats her head and softly urges her to sleep till she feels better. Sweeter than his candies. She appreciates his caring nature and loves the pleasant aroma of his blanket. He is certainly the main lead, right? Today, Shu develops an earring that helps in mana control to give Cory as a token of appreciation for his cooperation with their club activities, and for being so kind to her. She smiles as she thinks about it, hoping Cory will like her small gift. Aw, go date already! While things are becoming fluffy with Cory, the charming crown prince is grinning evilly because he has planned a new tough training course for Shu as payback for Shu's impulsive attacks on him when she is down. Cory puts her at ease, but Hylli serves as her stress reliever. Cory enters the club room and is shocked to see that their project is almost finished. But upon closer inspection, the small mountain model resembles the mountain near the academy, the Ogron Mountain, which Shu confirms. This reminds him of the swordsmanship major's final exam on that mountain, which surprised Shu that Cory knew it, but then learns that magic majors will also participate on the test. The model appears to be relevant to their exam, but Shu intends to explain everything to him after the test, which Cory accepts. Shu likes how Cory never presses for answers, and even now when he does, everything is floating just because she once told him not to mess with their sofa. He is so considerate. She then hands him her gift and Cory examines the earring, but when he notices something on it, he crashes to the floor and asks Shu where she bought it. Shu honestly claims that she made it for him, causing the guy to scream and want to confirm that the symbol etched on it is her own. The dollar sign makes perfect sense considering her love for money. Cory then slyly asks her if she is Schneeballing and shows her the article and enthusiastically flails his hands, raving about how amazing her items are. She's already been busted, so she has no choice but to admit that she's Schneeballing and urges him to keep it a secret. Cory nervously shakes her hand before abruptly storming out of the room, shrieking with joy. A true fan indeed. He goes back to thank Shu after he's calmed down, but the earring is bleeding heavily now, so it seems like he pierced it by force. I can't with him. He is so cute. Hestia tells Shu the following day that Cory is popular on campus because of his handsome appearance, illustrious family lineage, and exceptional talents. But when the semester began, the Crown Prince's arrival caused a split in popularity. It amazes Shu that Cory, an introvert, is liked by many. They are now on the Ogron Mountain for the practical test, and Shu is giving Cory a piercing stare, branding him a traitor in her mind because she hadn't considered that he wasn't a loner like her. Still, after giving him some decent scrutiny, she sees how sparkling he is and confirms that he is indeed a male lead. Eventually, Cory asks Shu why she can't stop staring, so Shu nonchalantly replies that she recently noticed how handsome he is, prompting Cory to flush so hard that he turns away and begs her not to say such things while he's already doing his hardest to remain composed around her, his idol. Shu regains her confidence when she realizes that this male lead is a fan of hers, and she begins to tease him until Hylli appears between them. The professor then announces that their exam will be marked based on the number of slime nuclei collected. While the lecturer continues to go over the guidelines, Hylli questions Cory about the absence of magic major students and learns that this is an elective test for them, with those who do not specialize in offensive magic opting out. While this answers Hylli's curiosity over Swan Hayden's absence, Cory points out that the boy didn't enroll and is currently studying abroad. While listening to them, Shu recognizes Swan Hayden's name and remembers that he is that grouchy white-haired boy she knows. She's surprised that the boys also know him. Shu is surprised when Hylli asks about her relationship with Swanhaden, because he has heard the Blanche and West families are close, to which she replies with no enthusiasm that it is solely due to their family's businesses and has nothing to do with her. When they were younger, she recalls Swan visiting them at home with his father, and when the adults were at work, he would also visit their drill hall, so she would frequently run into him while training. She noticed that Swan always looked cold and wore a long-sleeved turtleneck that covered his entire torso. However, when she caught a glimpse of his arms, the severity of his injury surprised her. So this guy has a horrible past, has he? Shu may not know much else about Swan, but she is quite aware of his terrible personality. She begins to sulk, recalling Swan's temperament and the frequent rejection she experienced whenever she attempted to initiate a conversation, while he always pretended to listen to Hestia when she attempted to talk with him. This saddened Shu, but she immediately moved on, considering Swan is one of the male leads. She feels it's best that they're not close, since none of the male leads are normal anyway, but she quickly dismisses the idea and believes that there's a chance Swan is a normal guy just like Hylli and Keurigord are now. Hylli then spots Shu staring and confronts her about growing feelings for him, leading her to make a disgusted frown and realize that their crazy colors may not fully emerge just yet because they're still young. The prince is so cocky! The first stage of the exam begins and everyone is running around, except Shu, who believes that one should work smart. Plus, she has reliable members with her, so she is confident that they will complete the test with no sweat. Then she secretly celebrates her guaranteed scholarship and the club's funds. So her plan begins immediately. First, she directs Keurigord to light the slimes on fire, once she has gathered them in one location. Next, she instructs Hylli to look for the slime boss and capture it alive, which confuses him, yet he still follows her instructions. So Hylli sets out to find the boss, while Shu assures him that they will capture his fair share of slime. She then begins to make a magic circle on the ground and use illusion magic, causing the slime to show up in large quantities, freaking Keurigord out. She reveals that the illusion magic circle she made makes the slime smell a scent they like, making this fan of hers blush in awe. Keurigord then steps up as he sees the slimes piling up and starts cooking them with his blue flames, which amazes her with its power. Keurigord gives her a brief glance and immediately places her in a water barrier, claiming that the place is too hot, making her blush and admire his attentiveness. This guy is greener than the entire Ogren forest. When they're finished, they divide the slime nuclei among the three of them and believe that they'll definitely get good grades for this. And because they still have time, she shows Keurigord her Pokeball, explaining that it is a monster-catching ball and demonstrating how to use it. She really said, "Slime, I choose you!" Keurigord is amazed as he sees the slime inside the ball and asks if she may give him one because it bears her Schneeball and $sign. Following that, the two proceed to where Hylli is. Hylli abruptly stops Keurigord and Shu from approaching him and gestures towards the Pokeball Shu is holding. The Crown Prince was traumatized! This, however, just serves to heighten Shu's itch to hurl the Pokeball. She does so while smiling evilly, making Hylli wince and close his eyes in anticipation. He then becomes embarrassed when Shu actually shoots it at the slime boss he beat, which sparks their never-ending arguing, with Keurigord throwing fuel to the fire by stating that they are close. In spite of their quick denial, Keurigord can tell they're close by their smug and bickering expressions. Ooh, someone is jealous. Shu obtained the scholarship she had hoped for after the final exams, and she is now filled with joy and pride. Brains and humor! Yeah, totally deserved it, girlie. They get to go home for the holidays after final exams, and Hestia is overjoyed to have more time to spend with Shu during their break. Hestia asks Shu to help her pack, but Shu hesitates for a while because she wants Hestia to stop being so dependent on her. However, Shu realizes that she only has herself to blame because she spoiled Hestia too much since she reminds her of her siblings from her previous life. Shu then grabs Hestia and firmly tells her that she should start packing her own things and being independent because they will soon be pursuing different life paths, so she should learn to look after herself. Shu then waves goodbye and heads to the club room, leaving Hestia alone there, looking dejected. Hess is beginning to scare me a little. Shu and Keurigord are now observing the slimes they collected and putting them into the mountain model they created. Their goal is to study monster behavior in real time, and she is overjoyed that they have finally completed their project report. Keurigord then notes that the teacher in charge of the clubs is interested in their project and expects that they will place high in the club rankings next semester. It's fantastic news, but what draws Shu's attention is that Keurigord only joined her club because she was persistent, so she is concerned about whether he will stay next semester. Of course he will, he's your fan! The following day at lunchtime, Hylli urges Cory to wake up and go eat lunch, grabbing him while feeling frustrated at how sluggish he is. He also mentions Shu's recent lack of enthusiasm for their training and blames Cory for influencing her. After hearing Shu's name, Cory snaps out of his doze, apologizes to Hylli by giving him some sweets for not being able to eat lunch with him today, and then rushes to the club room. Getting close to the grumpy crown prince is something Cory never expected to happen, and he starts to wonder how it all started. Then he realizes that he is usually in the middle of Hylli and Shu's arguments, which causes him to chuckle and thank Shu for bringing him a new friend. Upon entering the club room, he notices Shu peacefully sleeping on the couch. Intrigued, he crouches down to get a better look at her face, all the while wondering why he isn't as enamored with Hestia's beauty as everyone else. He finds himself fixated on Shu and begins to question whether he has developed an addiction to her face. That's a low-key confession. After staring for I don't know how long, Cory can't help but think Shu is pretty, so he ends up braiding her hair while Shu wakes up confused as to what happened to her hair, braided in different directions. Her looks make her feel stupid and ugly, prompting Cory to panic and immediately remove all of the braids. After he's done, Shu looks at her reflection in the window half asleep and turns to Cory, stating that her curls still make her look ugly, which in reality is incredibly beautiful and makes Cory's heart skip a beat. He gives her a warm smile and gently remarks how cute she looks, causing Shu to finally snap out of her slumber and begin to blush. Cory then puts a clip-on orange-shaped earring on her ear to express his gratitude for the earring she gave him, and it is also proof that he will remain in her club. After that, he bows to his club head and smiles at her with the most adorable look imaginable, which makes Shu turn around in fear that Cory may overhear her heart about to explode. They make each other's heart race, which means the ship is sailing, right? Right? While she's still calming down, Cory invites her to lunch with him, which Shu declines, but this guy isn't backing down, especially since Hylli blames him for making Shu exhausted. He uses his magic to lift her to the canteen, but when her transmitter rings, she decides to take a call and then follow Cory later. After Cory leaves, she answers the call and starts to panic when the caller is Carl, who quickly relays the message that someone respectable wants to meet with her. Today is the first day of their vacation, so the two boys are saying farewell to Shu. It seems like these three are truly becoming close friends because they have plans to go on a food trip together during the break, I believe. The Crown Prince goes first, followed by Shu, as Cory claims he will meet someone on campus first. Inside the carriage are now Shu, Hestia, and her older brother, Harun, who is complaining about how Shu has never paid him a visit. Oh, I nearly forgot about this simp brother of hers! Harun wants to hug her, but Shu won't let him, making him pout since he'll miss being able to hold her when she gets married. Shu firmly clarifies that she has no intention of getting married and instead plans to live alone. Even in her past life, she has never had a lover as well. Probably because she was too preoccupied with making ends meet, but fear not, my darling, you have 4 male leads to choose from. Anyway, best boy Cory, who is still on campus, enters a room where a ginger, long-haired guy waits for him. He is Yves Lunasa, a third-year student and the son of the Lunasa Merchant Group's leader. In accordance with their agreement, Cory then trades the magic stones he bought for the Schneeball, an item he requested from Yves. Yves hands him a small box, cheerfully revealing that he barely got it at auction after a long and tough search. He attempts to tell Cory more, but Cory remembers how much he got deceived into buying more items before, and he knows how much of a businessman Yves is, so he decides to leave. As Cory leaves, his upbeat demeanor turns icy, and he plops into the chair, intending to say that Cory might get the chance to meet his idol Schneeball in, but he smirks, believing that Cory may already know who the mysterious lady is. Whoa, his dark eyes truly give off that wicked vibe. As soon as Shu and Harun exit the carriage, their attendants cheerfully greet them, and their adorable young brother rushes to hug Shu. Harun also waits for a hug from Kareem, but this kid knows how to play with his brother's feelings and bluntly refuses. But Harun is overjoyed when he receives a hug from their granny servant, Lita. But it appears that this grandma has confused him for Shu. I cannot with them. Let me give you a hug, Harun. They are now eating supper, and both of their parents are delighted to hear their stories, so Shu can't help but smile at how comfortable her life is compared to her previous life. After that, she takes a careful look at her beautiful mother and notices that she's glittering today, complete with a new elegant dress and jewels. This means her mother went on a shopping spree, wasting their money, prompting Shu to shoot her a disapproving look that causes her mother to shudder. She got her looks from her mother, though. They're both so pretty. But she lets out a deep breath and decides to let her mother off the hook for now. She figures that they probably went above and beyond for today, so she doesn't want to ruin their spirits. Lita then serves Shu the apple pie she wanted, but the first slice causes her to nearly choke. Granny should just knit for her masters. That night, her maid Emily is giggling after learning that Lita mistakenly used sugar for salt, which is why the pie isn't edible. While Emily massages her legs, she understands that Shu is the reason Lita hasn't been dismissed yet. No matter how bad their financial situation is, Shu could never terminate her as she is their family's longest-serving employee and understands that no one would hire someone her age. Shu then asks Emily if her mother has been spending too much money lately, which causes Emily to feel uneasy and say she has no authority to tell her. So Shu decides to simply ask her little CCTV, Kareem. She enters Kareem's room and requests a report on their mother's spending, prompting Kareem to flinch, sob, and apologize before disclosing the information. Shu enters her room, shaking in anger because the various invoices she is holding are all the receipts for the items her mother purchased. She throws it in the air, enraged that their debt has increased. Mom is really wasting money, oh my! She has no choice but to work twice as hard as Schneeball in, so she checks through her messages and sees Carl's message regarding the lunasa merchant group, who want to meet her, which makes her grin because they are a big shot, which means big income for our girl. The next morning, Shu brings all of the receipts to her mother and is aware that she used their emergency savings despite her clear orders not to touch them. Her mother sobs as she asks for forgiveness and admits that she was so down when she and Haroon left that she went shopping to cope. After that, she acknowledges that she's a bad mother, making Shu almost fall for it, but not today, Mom, not today. Shu is lucky that her mom truly cherishes her children, so she aims to use her mother's maternal love as her weapon. First, she breaks down in tears, making it seem like she questions her mom's love for her because she continues to do things that could lead to her being sold, prompting her mother to stand up and believe she's speaking nonsense. Her mother is clueless about the consequences of her spending, so Shu takes the chance to remind her that the ladies of a poor household will be sold as brides to wealthy families. Her acting is so spot on that her mom now looks like she just saw a ghost and is now promising to never let it happen. At least her mom is a good person. Shu then gives her a hug, exaggerating how she does not want to starve or be kicked out, before immediately changing her tone and ordering her mother to refund everything she purchased, which her mother can only comply with. She played with her mom's heart. Sorry, Mom, but we need to save. Now that's done, it's time for Schneeballin to make some money. She has transformed into her Schneeballin disguise and is led to a room within the headquarters of the Empire's best merchant group, Lunasa. While she waits uncomfortably in the room, the thought of the ka-ching money she will receive upon completing her client's request fills her with excitement. Suddenly, the room starts to grow increasingly hot and she starts sweating heavily under her hood. Despite this, she stays cool and patiently waits for her client. But after what seems like hours, no one shows up. Shu can't take the heat anymore and chooses to remove her hood, which turns out to be Evanis's cue to bang his way into the room. Shu, taken aback, believes this person has planned it all along. Shu has done an excellent job concealing her Schneeballin identity for so long, so being discovered so quickly is very distressing. Evanis then sits down, introducing himself as a representative of their organization, and Shu instantly recognizes him as one of the male leads. She can see from his gaze that this guy is far more dangerous than the other male leads, so she intends to immediately complete his request and leave. Evanis finds her bluntness amusing, so he gives her the contract, implying that his request is something serious, which Shu isn't interested in. But after some convincing, she agrees to read it carefully. Her eyes widen as she realizes how beneficial the terms are. The contract states that, in addition to 1,000 golds for signing it, she will receive hundreds of golds per request, which will make her really rich, just as she dreams. However, Shu declines the offer because it is too out of the ordinary for her, and she would have to return to the academy after break. So she stands up and is about to go when Evanis closes the door. She turns to face him and notices that he's not wearing his typical optimistic expression, but rather an intimidating one. Shu freaks out when she finally meets a male lead who, like in the novel, is a true lunatic. She needs to escape immediately, but she remembers she didn't have any Pokeballs, so she plans to use her camcorder to blind him so she can use that chance to escape. However, Evanis uses his hair stick to break it just in time for her to toss the camcorder at him. Is it just me, or does he look disturbingly gorgeous with his hair down? Please be a good guy. He then touches her hair, smiling as he reveals Schneeballin's real name, Shiana West. Shu gulps in terror, but composes herself to appear tough in front of Evanis, questioning how he knew her identity, but this guy just gives her a smile. It occurs to her that maybe she did something wrong with the organization, but she decides to ponder about it later and concentrate on getting out of there right now. She hits him and goes to the door, but it seems like it won't open until it's Evanis. When Shu's anger boils over, she shows her skills by snatching his hair stick, slipping under him to make him fall, and then getting on top of him, pointing the stick at his neck. This man, though, shows no fear and really seems to be enjoying being in their position. Shu quickly assesses her situation. She is confident that Evanis' men will pursue her even if she escapes now, and this senior of hers may broadcast her Schneeball identity at school, so she cannot help but admit defeat. She then stands up, extends her hand to him, and is now prepared to listen. Shu is surprised that this guy is interested in Hestia, but he becomes fascinated about her, so he runs a background check and discovers that she is Schneeballin. This means Evanis intended to use her to get closer to Hess, which she is seriously avoiding, so she anticipated his plan to remain unchanged, but is taken aback when this charming guy is no longer interested in Hess. He shyly confesses that he is becoming more interested in her, which gives Shu the chills. He then reveals that she disrupted one of his father's businesses, which actually makes Evanis pleased, so as a gift, he intends to give Shu an option. He discloses that the contract his father made will put her in danger, so he tears it and says that after she signs, she will get a tattoo and become a slave for the lunasa group. He bears a crescent moon on his neck. Does this mean that he is also his father's slave? His father has already set his eyes on her, so if she departs now, she will have troubles. So Evanis suggests that she pretend to enter the contract while working for him. But Shu recalls that Evanis regularly betrays people in the novel. All of a sudden, the pain from his tattoo becomes unbearable, causing him to collapse onto his knees and gasp for air. He then looks so desperate as he begs Shu for help. Based on his tattoo, I am certain his dad is mistreating him. So guys, what do you think of this story so far? Please subscribe and turn on notifications for updates on this and all our other stories, so you can be the first to find out when they're out. Thank you so much for your support. See you in the next one!